that along with the war on drugs in general is a fucking myth,
Right.
because, we were all told that when Pablo Escobar was killed by the DE, well, that was it, right? We won. We won the war on drugs. It's just like, come on. Like, I mean, today, I don't know post-pandemic, but pre-pandemic, cocaine was, I think, cheaper and almost and potentially more pure than it has ever been in history. And so,
Really?
yeah. And so, what does that tell you about like supply and demand? It means there's ample supply, which has driven the cost down, and it's they're not stepping on it. I mean, I guess depending on your dealer, they're not stepping on it as much, and you can get you. What I'm saying is, if the free market teaches us anything, it's that it means that I don't think demand has gone down. I think it's because I think that supply is ample, and that is a failure of the so-called war on drugs. I, believe it or not, have never done cocaine. I've never done ecstasy. I never smoked pot till I tried it, I think, for the first time in 2017 when I was in Denver, Colorado, where it's legal. And you're not going to believe this, or maybe you will believe this. I just got a missed call from George Valdez while we're.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But so
I think he also said, I don't remember. Did he say? I think he also told me, I could be wrong, but you can verify this. He told me he's never tried cocaine either.
Yeah, listen, a lot of guys in the sort of the upper echelons of that world were not big users. I think a lot of them, it was a product that they sold. It was not necessarily something that they,
Right.
it could have been widgets. In George's case, it started off as bananas. He was a banana importer and a banana transporter, like that was his
Right.
product. So it didn't matter to them. They weren't necessarily fans. They were, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the CEO of McDonald's doesn't eat McDonald's every day, in fact, probably because it's arguably deadlier than cocaine. I would think, but to everyone who is shoving McDonald's in their mouth but won't get a vaccine. Like, what the fuck are you putting in your body?
I love McDonald's coffee, bro. I drink McDonald's coffee almost every day. They have the best coffee.
Dude, but I live in Miami. We have Cuban coffee, and you live in Tampa.
Yeah.
Cuban coffee is the greatest fucking coffee, full stop. That's it.
I agree. I totally agree.
Like, I don't know how I'd be conscious right now without it.
Well, going back to the cocaine thing, Adderall is the new cocaine. Everybody does Adderall now. Oh, and that's been going on for a while, but that's like the new thing.
It's a performance enhancing drug. And it's funny, like there's the percentage of, I think, Major League Baseball players that have waivers to use Adderall because they're on their doctor's recommendation is like disproportionate to the general population. Meaning,
Really?
like, apparently a lot of baseball players have ADHD, which, by the way, watching baseball gives me ADHD, so I don't blame them. But what I'm saying is that, like, that's a performance enhancing drug, like, it totally is,
Well, it's mental performance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, if your kid doesn't get into Harvard and another kid on Adderall gets into Harvard, is that cheating? It's a performance enhancing drug, right? I don't know. I think it's an interesting argument. I do know one of my favorite Onion headlines of all time was Adderall receives honorary degree from Harvard Law. Which really speaks because how do you get through Harvard Law, I guess,
Right.
without bumping those addies, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting, like saying a lot of people that I know, especially young people that do cocaine regularly, really shocked me. It shocked me just as much the amount of people that do Adderall daily, every single day. Like, I was talking to a girl, my wife's friend, and she said she's been prescribed Adderall since she was 12, taking it every day of her life.
Right, it's fucking poison. It's a narcotic. It's a controlled substance, for fuck's sake.
And to believe, and who the fuck came up with I mean, what a great propaganda sales pitch to say Adderall cures ADHD, or if ADHD is even a real thing. Did they just come up with that to sell Adderall?
First of all, part of the reason why I've never tried cocaine is not simply the illegality. well, I think the expense was probably it's cost prohibitive. I don't know how do you got a bunch of rich friends in Tampa who can afford cocaine.
Yeah.
I guess it's cheaper now than it was when I was, when I was a kid. But like, you know, I'm like you don't strike me as a guy who needs cocaine. I guess nobody needs cocaine, but like
No.
I'm sort of, I'm a caffeine cowboy. That's my drug of choice. And
Yep.
I didn't start drinking until I was 21 years old. That's what a straight arrow I was. Now I've been making up for lost time, mind you, but I didn't, and I gotta tell you, when I tried pot, I didn't like it at all.
Really?
The first, like I kept saying like, I'd rather be drunk. I'd rather be drunk.
Joey Diaz didn't slip you a couple milligrams when you hung out with him?
I didn't like this at all. And I remember saying, you know what I said? I said it to my cousin, who was one of the first medical marijuana entrepreneurs out west, out in Colorado. Got one of the earliest licenses, became, as you can imagine, extremely successful. I said to him when I tried it with him as one of his, from one of his dispensaries when it went rec. I said, "This will never catch on." That's what I said to him. This will never catch on. This is in 2017. I said this shit will never catch. No one's going to do that. But I will tell you this. Went to Chick-fil-A. And I was like, oh, I kind of get it. Like, because that shit tasted good, man. I mean.
Oh, yeah. After you smoked, you went there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I just like, what I met someone. I remember being in New York many years ago. Probably about 15 or so years ago, and was having a conversation with a woman, and I was like, what is happening? She is all over the place. And I said it to someone. I was like, what is she okay? Like, this is, they're like, oh, she just went to the bathroom. She's high as fuck. And I was like, holy shit. And that's when I realized, I describe it this way. I said, when people are on cocaine, they start one sentence and they finish another.
Yes.
And you and I are already like, have person like you or I, they would like have to scrape us off the roof with a fucking shovel if we did cocaine. Like we would just, we'd be like Len Bias. Our faces would explode. Like if we fucking did like, what would I do with that energy? Where would I put that? I don't even, and that scared me. Like I thought like, oh, my heart's just going to explode out of my chest if I tried. And I've never been particularly curious about it either. And I think part of the reason is, and maybe this is part of the reason why I only smoked in Colorado from like a legit dispensary. Like down here in Miami, who the fuck knows what they're cutting this shit with? I mean, you take ecstasy, God only knows what this anonymous person in like you could be fucking, you be detergent. If you're lucky, it's baby powder, but it could be detergent, fentanyl. Like it's just, there's so much crazy shit out there. And there's so many entrepreneurial hustlers who are trying to say, who are trying to, maximize the, their profits, that they'll cut anything in there. That's scary to me. Like not knowing like what the fuck I just bought from some stranger in a dark club for, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. And, obviously legalizing it makes it so much more, or making it illegal just makes it 10 times more dangerous.
Dangerous. Not only the substance, it brings in everything that prohibition brings in. It brings in the criminality. It brings in the money laundering. It brings in, of course, like no regulation on the ingredients. And so, listen, there's no question about it. It's the only way also to effectively create that many new jobs and a new multi-billion-dollar industry overnight. And I think statistically, we know from, as marijuana, both medical and recreational, is legalized, there's no statistical jump in the number of people who use it. Meaning, people who want marijuana, who want to use marijuana, are not being deterred by prohibition. They're still finding a way to get it, regardless or irregardless, as we say in Miami. But like, so when you legalize it, it's not like suddenly everybody who's never done pot or does it rushes out to try it or do it all. That like, there going to be a few people who will say, oh, now maybe I'll try, but they're not gonna, if that's not a huge number and they don't become regular, customers or users. It just doesn't make any sense why. And again, this is sort of a another one of those issues that I think should really unite the left and right, the conservatives, which is like, why does the government care if I inhale a plant that grows out of the earth that is less dangerous than poison ivy? What does the government care about that?